Good evening and welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today, BJP leader Nupur Sharma was finally granted relief by the Supreme Court, which prevented any coercive action to be taken against her, which means that she cannot be arrested in any of the 9 cases that have been lodged against her over the comments on Prophet Muhammad. The court asked various states, 9 of them, to respond to her request to combine the multiple FIRs into one. The issue will next be heard on the 10th of August, and till then, no new cases can be lodged against her either. But what was the most important part of today's hearing is that the judgment came on a day when Nupur Sharma told the court that ever since adverse comments were made against her on the 1st of July in an earlier hearing, the threat to her life has only increased. And even as these arguments were being made, emerged information of a man who had been arrested by the BSF on the India-Pakistan border in Sri Ganganagar. A man who crossed the border on the 16th of July with the sole intention to kill Nupur Sharma, armed with a knife and religious books and a brainwashed fatwa. Rizwan Ashraf is a resident of Mandi Bahau area of Pakistani Punjab. He said that he was told in a meeting that was held inside a mosque in Mandi Bahauddin by some Maulanas that Nupur Sharma had insulted Islam and must be punished.
जो है वो बॉर्डर का पिलर क्रॉस करके फेंसिंग के पास आ गया था, जिसको बीएसएफ के गार्ड्स ने चैलेंज करके उसको अरेस्ट किया और उसके बाद उसको हिंदूमल कोर्ट पुलिस थाना को सुपुर्द किया। इसने प्रारंभिक पूछताछ में ये बताया है कि ये यहाँ पर जो नुपुर शर्मा ने आपत्तिजनक बयान दिया था उसके विरोध में उसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई करने के लिए यहाँ पर ये आना चाहता था।
But Rizwan Ashraf, unfortunately, is not the only one. This brainwashed Pakistani is one among many. Within our own country, Nupur Sharma's counsel has listed multiple examples in court of how her life has repeatedly been threatened. Remember the bounty put on her head by a so-called khadim of a dargah in Ajmer, Salman Chishti. Soon after, a man was arrested from Bareilly on the 8th of this month for declaring on camera that he would behead Nupur Sharma, or worse. Just today, Union Minister Gajendra Shekhawat has put out a video showing men in Jaipur putting up posters seeking the beheading of Nupur Sharma and a march against her. The threat was always there, but today it is a matter of record in court. Today, there is a man who has been arrested for literally coming to carry out a hit on her. The question is, who has stirred this hate storm against her for months now, against a woman who today is marked for death.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Majid Heydri, political analyst, joins us along with Advocate Talha Amir Rashadi, spokesperson Rashtriya Ulema Council, Karan Verma, author. My first question is to Sushil Pandit, activist. Who do you think this has put this mark on her? Because of which today in court she is saying that the threat to my life has only increased. Today there are assassins being sent across the border, Sushil Pandit, for Nupur Sharma. Who made her a marked woman?
Padmaja, thank you for having me on your show. I must state this candidly today. Nupur Sharma episode has shown how miserable our political leadership is, how abysmal our judiciary is at the very highest level, how paralyzed and confused is the leadership of Hindus who have been living off a very big, staunch reputation of being strong and purposeful, and how vulnerable and how weak and how helpless a common patriot in India feels today. But at the same time, Padmaja, what gives me a great deal of joy is to see common citizens across small towns, small hamlets, turning out with tricolor in their hands and bear courage to challenge this tyranny of jihad unleashed on us, to challenge this violent streak being peddled from amazing quarters, incredible dargahs and maulvis and madrasas, and people propping up from here and there with daggers in their hands. This country, its common citizens today, despite the lack of leadership, despite the lack of any organization stepping forward, are organizing themselves and proclaiming that we will resist, that we will denounce, and that we will stand with Nupur Sharma, even in this adversity.
You're talking about the ones who are backing her. I want to again ask you,
life in this country.
Who set her up for this? Who ensured that there is a target painted on her back? Sushil Pandit.
Absolutely. See, it took 10 days of complete silence and absolutely no reaction before our leadership threw her under the bus, literally admitting that there was some guilt, despite absolutely no conversation, no fact-checking, nothing, no analysis, no content analysis of what she said. She was arbitrarily proclaimed guilty and suspended. And then this unleashed a storm because enemies who till then were silent obviously felt emboldened, and fatwas started coming out. An entire list of who's who, the usual suspects on social media, started baying for her blood. This is a collaborative effort between those who are supposed to protect us and those who are self-declared enemies. Nupur Sharma has been caught between, friends and enemies equally.
So, Majid Heydri, there's a whole bunch of people in our country, some who threw her under the bus, some who declared or pretty much stopped short of declaring that she is fit to die. And here you have people coming across the border willing to fulfill that wish. Who's going to own up? God forbid something was to happen. And she's going to court and she's saying, the threats to my life, I'm being threatened of rape, I'm being threatened of murder every single day. Who's responsible for this?
Well, Padmaja Sahiba, with all due regards and respect, I humbly start by invoking Mirza Ghalib for Honorable Supreme Court. हमने माना कि तगाफुल न करोगे लेकिन खाक हो जाएंगे हम तुमको खबर होने देंगे. There has been a second thought in the hearts and minds of Honorable Supreme Court. It's the same temple of justice that some days back said that this woman, this ideology is single-handedly responsible for setting entire country on fire. Now today the same honorable jury has come to the rescue of women saying that even she should not be arrested. So we as the citizens of this country, abiding by the constitution, have every right to ask, what is the reason or the force or the shadow behind this change in mindset, behind
because sir, the court has to at some point uphold the right to life of a common citizen, or do you expect her to expect them to hang her by the neck without even a trial? A woman is going and saying, please help me, I will be killed. And there is an assassin who has come. Do you not realize, Majid Heydri, you are still splitting hairs about whether she should be arrested, whether she should not be arrested, what the Supreme Court said on the 1st of July. Who is responsible for setting this woman up to a point where there are people crossing the border to kill her? Majid Heydri?
Padmaja Sahiba, you gave a long time for a long speech to Sushil Pandit. Now let me reply to what you have asked. See, firstly, this woman has been declared prince by the BJP itself, not Majid Heydri, or not the Muslims of this country. So
nobody is saying that the BJP is above board in this. But the BJP definitely didn't say that she is fit to be killed. There are some people who have pretty much stopped short of painting a target on her back. I'm asking you, who is going to own responsibility for that? If today there are people putting a bounty on her head, if today there are people actually coming to come good on that bounty, who is responsible, Majid Heydri?
See, supporting Nupur Sharma may be a style statement in the country as of now. But there is nothing like support for Nupur Sharma. It's support for blasphemy, it's support for Islamophobia, and I am clear-cut on this. So let's
My
not
friend,
support the ideology of
supporting
hate.
somebody's
Let's
right
not
to
support the
life
ideology of hate.
is not to
She's a
support
fringe.
blasphemy or
Honorable
support
Court has declared her a
Islamophobia.
fringe.
So essentially you are saying she doesn't have a right to life either.
It needs to be legally discussed because Honorable Court
Legally
has said
discussed?
she's a
You think that
fringe.
man
BJP
who's
has
coming
said
from
yes.
Pakistan with a knife is waiting for some legal points? You think he believes in the law?
I find a Bajrangi Bhaijaan script in that तारों के नीचे से रात के अंधेरे में that guy has come. I mean,
Don't be facetious, sir. Here is somebody who self-proclaimed as saying, yes, I am here to kill her. Yes, she deserves to die. My question again to you is, who is responsible for dehumanizing Nupur Sharma to the point that she is fair game for every mindless, brainwashed bozo running around?
Firstly,
Who has dehumanized her to that point?
Firstly, I fail to understand what is communal about this, what is Hindu-Muslim about this. One hate ideology has insulted or hurt the sentiments of a particular community. The entire nation should stand by that community. Why should Padmaja Joshi not also stand with Majid Heydri?
So nobody should stand with a woman who is saying that they are coming to kill me. Do you think the nation should also stand with the right to life of Nupur Sharma? Irrespective of what the court proceeding is. Whatever she has done, it will be decided by court. Not by you saying, well, she has committed blasphemy and she is fit for death. Do you stand by Nupur Sharma's right to life?
I would say if she has so much of threat, it's better to put her behind the bar. She will be much safer there. So why is she not being arrested?
Do you support Nupur Sharma's right to life and safety, Majid Heydri?
No, she has put the entire nation at stake.
So she has no right to life.
About one person's security when it's concerned about my whole nation, the communal harmony. Let she be jailed. She'll be much safer there.
You're saying that she does not have the right to life.
See, it needs a legal discussion on how the fringe should be dealt with.
Oh, now you want to talk about the law. When people are running around putting a bounty on her head, that of course is absolutely within the ambit of the law. Who is responsible, Karan Verma, for dehumanizing Nupur Sharma and making her fair game for any radical who wants to come good on this threat?
It is the irresponsible opposition and the lobby which has individuals like Majid Heydri, and he said it in as many words on your panel, that he doesn't respect the right to life that Nupur has. Padmaja, the fact is they've lost their sense of proportion. For them, one statement, one remark is equivalent to taking away all the rights of a person, is equivalent to putting up the country in flames and even inciting violence and letting foreign nationals cross over the border and come and kill individuals here. This is where they've become ridiculous to a point, and radicalization has assumed preposterous propositions. It has assumed proportions where if we don't address it now in a bipartisan manner, it is going to take everyone in its sweep. Enough of obsessing over Nupur. If they don't stop here, we must understand we've already lost a lot. Today, the fabric of this country is up for a toss. Are we so fragile as a nation that one statement said in a debate can result in all of this? And what about the cold-blooded mobilization and rallying that is happening because of that one statement of Nupur? Isn't that a sin? When open calls are being made for her beheading, and we saw that on camera, calls are being made, and there's nothing hidden about it. Doesn't a person like Majid Heydri come out and condemn that? He doesn't. Because he's clear in his direction and in his ideology.
Who whipped up the paranoia over the last 2 months?
The political godfathers of the fringe elements have done this. You know, they are going to gain that political mileage by keeping this matter in headline. They are the ones who are creating this political paranoia that you are talking about. At the same time, Padmaja, I would like to highlight this point that I'm seriously amazed and shocked at the same time that you have this selective outrage in support of Nupur Sharma, who is a fringe element, and you are talking about the threats that have been taking place against her. But at the same time, there is a journalist who is a colleague of yours by the name of Rana Ayub. She too has been getting all the threats of being killed, of being raped, of every sort of actions being taken against her that cannot simply be imagined or been described in 2 words.
There is
but
no,
you don't have any,
two ways
any
about
grudge
it.
against those people.
That is not only to be condemned, nobody should stop at condemnation, sir. I have no qualms in saying that anyone who has threatened Rana should not only be condemned, should be arrested.
People who are giving threats to Nupur Sharma, that should be against both.
But hold on a second. There is absolutely no
talk
caveat.
About Rana, you as well as Nupur
Since you
Sharma,
asked
even
me
she is
the
a lady.
question, I will tell you the difference. The difference is there have been 2 murders. There have been bounties placed on Nupur Sharma's head, and there have been open calls on the streets of our country asking for her beheading. That being said, there is absolutely no equivocation about the fact that any threat should be addressed with immediate arrest. I have no qualms in saying it. But do you support?
The political patronage at the
do you
same time
support, Mr. Rashadi?
But if you talk about Rana,
you asked me a question. I have given you an unequivocal answer. Do you, however, stand with Nupur's life? Nupur's right to life and safety. Do you stand with that?
Every citizen of India, be it a fringe element as described by BJP, but still if she is a citizen of India, she has the right to life and liberty as per the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution.
Thank you very much. Then in that case, should the people who have not covertly but overtly fanned paranoia against her, saying that she has engaged in blasphemy, equally be held to account? People,
there is a lookout notice against her by the Kolkata police. She should have faith in system and she should surrender to the police. As Majid Heydri said, she is much safer behind the bars. She should surrender. She should follow the course of the law. She should come clean towards the law.
Sushil Pandit.
Why is she running from the law?
Those calling for beheading,
being an absconding.
Padmaja, those who are asking for her head and baying for her blood are today recommending where she is safe, whether behind bars or elsewhere. This is the irony of the situation. Those who... Will you please stop and let me have my say? I don't like this background music when I'm talking. You know, there is a great deal of double speak happening, even as they pretend to be upholding her right to life. There is an if and but follows immediately. You know, this is where the hypocrisy needs to be called out. We are today facing a situation where an entire formal structure of a community, I see dargahs, I see madrasas, and I see Maulvis as institutions within that community. And if you create a false equivalence, you see, in social media, death threats and rape threats are not new. You very often see some crackpots issuing such threats. But if you equate such threats today with what Nupur Sharma faces, it shows what a hypocrite you are.
Mr. Rashadi.
It shows how you could lie through your teeth with a straight face. This is what we are dealing with.
Mr. Rashadi, quick response and I'll bring in Anirban Banerjee.
You have people getting slashed in their shops and homes.
Yes. I just wanted to ask Mr. Sushil, can he tell me to which madrasa does Yati Narsinganan belong to, Bajrang Muni, to which dargah does Bajrang Muni belong to which madrasa Sadhvi Pragya belongs to? Can you please name them?
I'll tell you to which madrasa
and those people who are shouting and crying on Janta Mantar, जब मुल्ले काटे जाएंगे, डैश चिल्लाएंगे, मुल्लों के देवस्थान.
Okay. Please, language, sir. Language, Mr. Rashadi, please. And those people were put in jail, rightly? I don't want you to be put in jail. So language.
You should have
I did.
To him. He was
Those people who said it in Jharkhand, those people who said it in Jantar Mantar belong in jail. They belong to a rotting jail. There is no two ways about it.
He said twice
but
that a
sir,
particular committee is the enemy of the country.
To create equivalence,
talking about my language.
I hold absolutely no brief neither for Vishnu Gupta, nor for Yati Narsinhanand, nor for Bajrang Muni. Let them be in jail for all I care, sir. But that still does not mean that Nupur Sharma should today be asking the court that, sir, I am going to die if you do not give me legal protection, Anirban Banerjee. Is it time now, finally, for those who have used the last month and a half to simply whip up paranoia against her to dial it down? This may be great politics for them, but it has real-life consequences for a human being. Let's not underestimate the gravity of what we are seeing today. There is an actual murderer who has come with the sole mission of killing this woman. She needs to face a law, not an assassin. Mr. Banerjee.
Yeah, exactly. So, as far as I know, Nupur Sharma is a resident of Delhi. The Delhi police belongs to the union government, Mr. Amit Shah being the Home Minister.
So what you are saying effectively is that the Delhi police led by Amit Shah has failed to provide her security.
He was caught in Rajasthan, sir. He was caught in Rajasthan by the BSF.
Where is Nupur Sharma right now?
She is in Delhi, but that's not the point. She will get security. But will she live the rest of her life in a police cordon? Do you know what it's like?
The Delhi police.
To sit on a floor of your house all day long, not even be able to look out of the window because you don't know who's standing there waiting to kill you. Would you ever be able to live that life for the rest of your life?
No. Does Nupur Sharma have no trust on the Delhi police? That is the simple question.
Even if you have all the trust in the police, can you live your life for the rest of your years knowing and thinking that when somebody will come and try and kill you, 1 month from now, 1 year from now, 1 decade from now, there'll be some loony who will always remember the hate cries that were given against you and think, oh, she deserves to die because she's done blasphemy. Would you ever be able to live a life like that, Mr. Banerjee?
I have not got into the head of Madam Nupur Sharma. I don't know what she knows or what she thinks. I have seen what her petition in the Supreme Court reads, and it reads that she has no trust on the Delhi police. That is number one. Number two is the Supreme Court, the Honorable Supreme Court, which is supreme but not infallible, is basically missing the basic point. Here they are busy safeguarding Nupur Sharma. On the other hand, they are repeatedly failing to safeguard Mohammad Zubair. Mohammad Zubair, who has been fact-checking all the lies of the Sangh Parivar IT cell for the last 3 or 4 years. He is languishing in jail. And
safeguarding Nupur, but not safeguarding Zubair. Double standards by the Supreme Court. Which is funny because just a few days ago, the same Supreme Court was being hailed as the gospel by the same Anirban Banerjee, but now the same Supreme Court is an object of hate. But anyway, go on, Karan Verma.
So the first thing is that Supreme Court also realizes now that there is a genuine threat to her life, and that's why the Supreme Court today struck a far different note than the July 1st note, and it was empathetic to that fact. So let the law take its own course now, for God's sake. And secondly, comparing Nupur with Zubair, there are two different cases. Mohammad Zubair was a repeated offender and he did it in a cold-blooded manner. It wasn't like Nupur where it was in the heat of the moment. Zubair has always had an agenda, and intention matters. When we apply Section 295, it is the intention to create hatred and enmity that matters. Zubair translated it in various languages and made the content viral just to whip up passions. So that is a different case altogether. And plus he faces a case for revealing the source of foreign donations. So please get your facts right and let's not compare Zubair with Nupur. And let the law take its own course. Have faith in the Supreme Court that you were quoting repeatedly for the last 20 days when Supreme Court reprimanded Nupur on July 1st.
So then, let me ask you, Mr. Banerjee, irrespective of whatever Mohammad Zubair may have done, he deserves not just the full protection of the law, but also of the police. There should be no harm coming to him. His safety should never be endangered. Would you say the same for Nupur Sharma as well? that people who have endangered her today should be made accountable. People who have whipped up passions, people like AIMIM member of parliament, Imtiaz Jalil, who has stood in his constituency and said, hang her from the Charaha, they should be made accountable. Because today, if there is a hit on her, it is because of people who have legitimized the kind of hate that is directed at Nupur Sharma. Mr. Banerjee.
Any person living in India, whether a citizen or not, his or her right to life is guaranteed under our constitution. And I stand by the right to life of anybody in India, whether it is the hate-monger Nupur Sharma, or whether it is the fact-checker Mohammad Zubair, or whether it is any person. Any person, I stand by their right.
Well, you have already made a distinction, sir. You have already dehumanized and othered her by saying, oh, Zubair deserves all the safety of the law, the protection of the law, because he's a fact checker. But she is a hate monger. And then you slipped in your little, endorsement of her right to life. But if you've already deemed her a hate monger, sir, you haven't really left much to the imagination of those who think that there is only one fate that somebody like her deserves.
Has her party taken her back? Has her party lifted her suspension? Why not?
Okay.
Why has her party termed her as a fringe element?
Well, that her party should answer for. Unfortunately, they are not represented here on the panel, but at the very least, those who have all this while legitimized the demonization, the dehumanization, and almost endorsed the harm that is being directed at Nupur Sharma should be made accountable. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, for joining me.